Welcome to the weekly deep dive. If you're anything like me, you probably feel like the amount of information coming at us right now is overwhelming. Between the AI breakthroughs, the stock market swings, crypto, and the general economy, I just found myself reading endless newsletters and listening to podcasts. But honestly, I can't tell you that I remember any of it. I was essentially consuming information piecemeal, missing the bigger picture and how it all connects. And I essentially decided to fix that. So that's my solution, this podcast. My goal here is simple, really. It's just to practice articulating complex ideas. It's to ground myself in what's actually happening and to help you connect the dots without having to read the entire internet. This is a passion project. It's not about the views and it's not about the hype. It's just about understanding. So let's get into this week's synthesis. I'd like you to imagine this. So imagine an AI creating its own highly advanced math test. It gives itself an F and just throws the test in a digital trash. But then an Oxford professor fishes it out. He realizes the AI had actually just solved a problem humans have been stuck on for decades. Now, combine that hyper-advanced alien logic with a physical world where the Strait of Hormuz is closed that cuts off a fifth of the world's oil. On top of that, we have a US government quietly printing money to float a completely incomprehensible $39 trillion debt. The industrial age isn't just ending, it's actively fracturing. What's rising up in its place is being rapidly programmed into the intelligent age. We are looking at a landscape today where peak technological brilliance is colliding head-on with catastrophic geopolitical and macroeconomic fragility. Today we are pulling from a dense, fascinating stack of sources. We have macroeconomic reports, elite tech newsletters like ExacSum, and a bunch of other sources that deep cut financial analysis. Our mission is to decode this bizarrely contradictory world. I want to hand you a unified dossier to understand how the chaos on Wall Street, the rise of AI agents, and the silent shift in global money are all intimately connected. You really cannot understand the AI boom without understanding the failure of the legacy financial system, and you can't understand the shifting geopolitical map without knowing what these tech titans are building behind the scenes. So let's look at a story about Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. He has co-founded a company called WorldCoin, and they're deploying these bowling ball-sized reflective silver spheres called Orbs. They are setting them up in cities all around the world to literally scan the irises of human beings. In exchange for that biometric scan, the user gets a world ID, which is a cryptographic digital proof of humanity. And as of right now, staggeringly, 18 million people have voluntarily lined up, looked into the silver orb, and handed over their iris data. The irony here is so thick you could choke on it. The exact same people making the AI that makes it virtually impossible to tell what is human online are offering them biometric hardware to prove you are human. But this isn't just a quirky tech story. This is the raw foundation of the new digital economy. The internet operates on a low trust or assumed trust model today. But when you introduce AI agents capable of perfectly faking a voice, synthesizing a face in real time, or forging a document flawlessly, that entire trust matrix collapses. You become completely vulnerable to a Sybil attack. That is where a single entity creates millions of fake identities to overwhelm a network. If you can't prove who is human, the network basically becomes unusable. It becomes bots talking to bots and scamming other bots. Passwords don't work anymore because AI can bypass them in seconds. Even traffic light captures are completely useless at this point. The only anchor point left that cannot be cheaply replicated by code is immutable biology. So they have to anchor a digital identity to a physical body or the intelligent agent cannibalizes itself. The iris scan creates a unique cryptographic hash on a blockchain. Without the biometric proof, verifying a human user just falls apart entirely. But AI isn't just faking our voices anymore, it's starting to outpace our highest cognitive functions. Just look at what happened with Google DeepMind and the Frontier Math Tier 4 benchmark. I mean, these are open-ended research-level mathematical problems designed specifically to stump advanced AI. DeepMind unleashed its AI co-mathematician, which generated a massive, complex proof, but DeepMind's own internal review mechanism looked at the proof, decided it was just flawed, and rejected it into the digital trash. And then we go into Oxford, and this professor named Mark Lackenby sifted through these discarded outputs. He then realized that while the final execution had a bug, the AI had embedded a really clever proof strategy deep inside the logic. It had navigated the mathematical search space in a way no human had ever thought of. Lackenby used the exact strategy to solve an open problem in the Korovka notebook. We have been conditioned to view machines as pure oracles that give a single correct answer, but this proves that AI is more like a tireless savant-level brainstorming partner. It can generate a million paths, but it still requires a human domain expert to sift through the gravel to spot the gold. It is an engine of brute force creativity that found a novel path but lacked the final contextual judgment. The baseline capability is moving from merely regurgitating training data to true spontaneous synthesis. And this creates a wild contrast with the humans currently running the global financial system. I mean, we have reports showing historic systemic strain on the global economy, and what are the top Wall Street executives doing? They are getting caught in incredibly bizarre human scandals. I mean, a co-founder of Fortress is tangled in a scandal with a Chinese situationship. The founder of Greenlight Capital threw a party explicitly requesting ladies arrive in sexy party clothes. And I mean, on the other side, we've got AI is expanding the outer limits of human knowledge, and then the gatekeepers of global capital are succumbing to the most basic, fallible human impulses. I mean, this human unpredictability is a massive problem for central planners. If you are architecting the next iteration of a global economy teetering on a $39 trillion debt, you need absolute precision. You probably don't trust highly emotional, easily compromised human beings managing these institutions. You look at that AI at DeepMind and realize you need to algorithmic the financial system with entities that do not sleep, do not get blackmailed, and execute policy perfectly. Meanwhile, the new tech elite building these flawless systems are actively locking the vault. I mean, Anthropic, the creator of the Claude AI models, just instituted a draconian ban on unapproved sales of their stock. They have completely frozen out the secondary markets. If you want to sell vested shares, the board has to explicitly approve it, or they just void the sale entirely. A viral minion meme captured the sentiment almost perfectly. It just said, just stay in the permanent underclass, little bro, it's over. Normally, early employees can sell shares on secondary markets to distribute wealth before an IPO, and that's how people get rich. But by freezing this, Anthropic is intensely gatekeeping the value of the intelligent age. The wealth is being completely trapped at the very top of the pyramid. So we have silver orbs linking biology to blockchains, AI solving impossible math, and elites looking up future wealth. But all of this is operating inside a compounding, synchronized crisis where the physical world and the financial systems are all flashing red. To manage this chaotic transition, a digital control grid is being actively erected in plain sight. I mean, let's look at the catalyst, right? So, starting with a macroeconomic nightmare, obviously the US is sitting on a $39 trillion national debt, and the interest expense alone is eclipsing major government programs. I mean, inflation has missed the Federal Reserve's 2% target for 6 consecutive years now. The physical world is also breaking down. I mean, on the 2nd of March 2026, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps confirmed the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. That narrow waterway was transiting approximately 20% of the world's total oil supply and a massive chunk of its LNG. Cutting off a fifth of the world's energy supply instantly fractures physical supply chains. Insurance premiums go infinite. Tankers have to reroute around the Cape of Good Hope, and the cost of basic physical goods skyrockets. So you have a fiscal system drowning in debt it cannot repay. and a physical system starved of the energy it needs to grow out of that debt. Central planners can't invent more oil, and they can't pay off the debt mathematically without defaulting. According to the analysis that I've read, their solution is the grid. They are using the AI boom to shift society into a highly controlled digital reality where behavior and consumption can be managed algorithmically. Catherine Austin Fitts outlines three specific pillars for this transition. Pillar 1 is programmable money. Pillar 2 is digital identity, like Sam Altman's Orbs, for example. And then lastly, Pillar 3 is pervasive surveillance hardware. We are moving from a free-roaming, cash-only bazaar to a digital company town. In this town, the central authority controls the digital currency to buy bread, issues the biometric ID badges, and owns all the cameras. This isn't a malicious movie villain conspiracy, it simply requires a massive crisis and the pragmatism of power. Just like the pandemic, emergencies act as a testing ground for unprecedented measures. Fear accelerates compliance. A digital ID won't be pitched as a control mechanism. It will be framed as an absolute necessity for national security and distributing scarce energy. We can track these shifts in the data. Starting with Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, he recently oversaw a historic descent in his final rate decision amid intense public attacks from Donald Trump. Setting politics aside, if the market believes the Fed is making decisions based on political pressure, central bank credibility fractures. Global faith in the US dollar as the unquestioned bedrock of the financial system begins to waver, and under the new grid, central planners won't need traditional laws or police to enforce compliance. They will just use programmable money and digital ideas to instantly turn off an individual's access to the economy. Your card just stops working at the gas station. Programmable money embeds conditional code directly into the token itself. If there is an energy shortage, the logic could dictate that your specific dollars cannot be spent on gasoline if you hit your weekly quota. The urgency for this is driven by raw numbers. Core PCE inflation re-accelerated to 3.2% in March 2026, heavily driven by the Middle East conflict. While the physical economy stalls out, the AI economy is achieving milestones that defy logic. DeepMind scored 48% on the Frontier Math benchmark, crushing Gemini 3.1 Pro's 19%. The capital flowing into this AI transition is immense. OpenAI and Microsoft just capped their revenue sharing at $38 billion, and Anthropic has officially overtaken OpenAI in corporate paid adoption, capturing 34.4% of corporate spend. Businesses are trusting these models to automate workflow, structure data, and write code. So how is the stock market valuing all this chaos? The Shiller PE ratio is sitting at 40.9, meaning the market is priced for absolute perfection. Put that into context, the 20th century median is 16.1. The Buffett indicator is at an astonishing 229%, valuing the market at more than double the entire economic output of the US. To navigate a market this stretched, our sources synthesize a strict framework called the Barbell Strategy that I've been talking about for a couple of weeks now. So basically what you do is you avoid the bloated middle and you weight your portfolio on the extreme ends: hyper-conservative hard assets and hyper-aggressive transformative technology. Step 1 is to follow the whales, and there is no bigger whale than the Federal Reserve. Starting December 10, 2025, the Fed initiated reserve management purchases. They are quietly stepping into the market, buying short-term T-bills, and injecting fresh digital cash into the banking system. This is stealth yield curve control. They are structurally proving they have to prioritize the $39 billion debt burden over their mandate of fighting inflation. If they don't buy the debt, the government defaults, so they expand the money supply and mathematically devalue the dollar. Private equity whales are acting with the same vicious self-preservation. Citadel is fighting aggressively in bankruptcy court over Spirit Airlines debt, and CVC is injecting $250 million to save Lipton Teas. For the conservative side of your barbell, you need hard assets like physical sovereign energy. Greenland Energy Company is mapping 58 prospects targeting approximately 13 billion barrels of recoverable oil in the Arctic. While Middle Eastern oil is cut off, an untouched basin is in a non-conflict jurisdiction becomes a premium strategic asset. And of course, gold acts as the primary insurance mechanism against the Fed printing money. On the hyper-aggressive side, you need exposure to agentic AI. These are models that autonomously do things. An AI model called Codex has a computer use feature that takes control of your local machine's mouse and keyboard to fix code or execute workflows in Photoshop. Alphabet is on track to overtake Nvidia as the world's biggest company because value is shifting from hardware to the platform aggregators integrating these AI ecosystems. Then there is the kill zone, the things you must avoid. First is the Magnificent 7 concentration problem, where the top 10 names control 41% of the S&P 500. So basically, if one massive tech node faces a shock, all the passive flows automatically sell off at the same time, triggering a synchronized violent repricing. You also must avoid the permanent underclass of business models. Middlemen software as a service companies are dead in the water. Just look at the auto scientist, an AI system that automatically tunes other AI models 35% than human experts. The cognitive middle of the economy is being relentlessly hollowed out. Finally, keep an eye on the watch list for signals the system is actively breaking down. The expectation divergence between Michigan consumer sentiment and New York Fed data signals the public realizes inflation is a permanent fixture. This risks a self-reinforcing stagflation spiral. Also watch the central bank's schism. While the US Fed is secretly printing money, the Reserve Bank of Australia, the European Central Bank, and the Bank of England are actively tightening policy. This creates massive downward pressure on the US dollar and a historic decline in central bank credibility. We could see tens of trillions of overseas funds looking for the exits simultaneously. We have covered an unbelievable amount of ground today, from silver orbs scanning irises to AI math geniuses to the Strait of Hormuz driving sticky 3.2% inflation, forcing the Fed to save a $39 trillion debt bubble. Central planners are using this exact moment of chaos to construct a digital control grid. Programmable money, digital IDs, and pervasive surveillance are the blueprints for managing a society where the legacy industrial system simply no longer functions. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a chilling question to mull over the next week. What happens to the global financial system when these incredibly logical, flawless AI agents are finally plunged into the macroeconomy? What happens when an intelligence devoid of human emotion is asked to calculate the true, unvarnished value of the US dollar? What happens to the control grid when the AI mathematically proves that a $39 trillion debt can never ever be repaid? Will the system accept the flawless math, or will the humans in charge reject the AI to save themselves? Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. Keep your eyes open, keep your portfolios balanced at the barbell, and remember to question everything.